Elon Musk has a big project in the works, a massive rocket, the largest ever built, called Starship. His main goal is to use it to get to Mars and eventually build a self-sustaining colony there. It's almost like a plan B. If something was to ever happen to Earth, this would be the backup plan. And the launch site for this project is in Boca Chica, Texas. This area is surrounded by state parks and wildlife, and it's one of the last untouched areas of the Texas coast, where hundreds of thousands of birds, sea turtles, and wildlife live. And even though his plan to get to Mars and to do all of these things is pretty exciting, some are saying that he's paying very little attention to how much harm this might cause the ecosystem. You may have seen some rocket launch videos where right after it's launched, tons of water is used to cool the launching pad. SpaceX uses about 180,000 gallons of water per launch. And after these launches, this water doesn't just evaporate. It eventually makes its way into where the wildlife is nearby. If this was clean, pure drinking water, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But this water is contaminated with dissolved solids and all sorts of toxic chemicals like zinc and chromium. When SpaceX was asked about this, they said exactly what you expect them to, that this is in fact clean water and that they're not doing any harm. But after SpaceX's last launch, local biologists noticed lots of damage to the bird nests, among other things. And so now, we're at a point where environmentalist groups are fighting back. They're filing lawsuits and demanding that SpaceX goes through more environmental reviews before they're allowed to launch anything. And this damage isn't just limited to excess toxic water. A rocket launch does lots of damage to the actual launch site too. In 2023, a launch caused debris like concrete and rebar to also be scattered across these wildlife areas. NASA deals with this issue too, but they have a system in place called Flame Trench that minimizes structural and fire damage, but SpaceX decided not to go with that approach. Instead, they try to deal with this damage after the fact, only to realize that these rocket engines were quite literally vaporizing parts of the launch site. Their solution? To use more water. But as I mentioned earlier, that hasn't been working great either. But SpaceX hasn't stopped. They've launched again, and they have more test flights coming up. Obviously, environmentalists are super unhappy, claiming that Elon is putting his corporate interests above the ecosystem. And SpaceX continues to ramp up its operations from 5 launches a year to 25, which would put even more strain on the environment. The FAA, which grants the license for these launches, has paused approval for now, but the pressure is building. For the local wildlife and the people who care about this unique coastal area, time is running out. As always, like and subscribe for more updates.